I think it's a top fight for Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He has a great defense. He has a good combination punches, but I think the weight class is no.
Juan Manuel Marquez isn't holding back. He just cast serious doubt on whether Terence Crawford belongs in his new weight class. According to the Mexican legend, Crawford's skill won't be enough this time. Marquez didn't stop at Crawford. He had something to say about Canelo too. He stated, "Canelo Alvarez is a good fighter, he defends, but I think at the experience, the power, Canelo has everything." Marquez gave Canelo his flowers, calling out his strength, ring IQ and complete skill set. He sees Canelo as the total package, to sharp, to strong and to seasoned. There's no hesitation in his voice, just pure respect for the champion's evolution coming from Marquez. This isn't height, it's validation, but in boxing even praise from a legend can spark debate. But just as quickly as Marquez praised Canelo, he turned critical, and the topic shifted back to Terence Crawford. He didn't mince words, pointing out a real concern many fans have been whispering about for Marquez. It's not about skill, it's about size, weight, and the brutal reality of boxing's divisions, and he made his stance loud and clear.
Terence Crawford is a good fighter, but in the sport of boxing, it has divisions. You know what I mean? You know?
Right, weight classes.
You know what?
Right?
Yeah, weight classes
for a reason.
Weight classes for, yeah. And Terence Crawford is a good fighter in super lightweight, welterweight, super welterweight, but I think more. I remember when Terence Crawford fought with Madrimov.
Yes.
He looks slow. He looks with no power, and two more divisions. I think it's a top fight for.
Marquez didn't think Crawford was strong enough to take his speed and strength to higher weight classes. He pointed to Crawford's past results that showed problems, especially when he fought naturally bigger opponents. The message is clear. He thinks that skill doesn't always transfer when the body can't support it. It's not brave to put on weight. It's a dangerous move. When that advice comes from a hero who has fought across differences, it hits home even more. Marquez isn't the only one sounding the alarm. Strength teacher Rob Esta made things worse by giving a completely honest point of view. He didn't try to hide the fact that Crawford entered Canelo's world at 16 to 68. Esta brought up an important point that fans can't miss: Canelo's chin and how much force he has already taken. He tells you to be careful with the game's levels.
What do you think is going to happen at 168? Canelo's been hit by Triple G, one of the hardest punches in boxing. You mean to tell me that Crawford's going to go up there and just clean him out? No, that's not happening. So it's a lot harder. Now, do I think that the athleticism of Crawford will give Canelo a problem?
Esta doesn't say Crawford isn't skilled. In fact, he praises him for being athletic and sneaky. But when it comes to strength and life, Esta is very clear. Canelo tells us that he has taken shots from monsters like Gennady Golovkin as a host. The idea that Crawford can simply go in and dominate is sheer nonsense. He is smaller, stronger, and has more experience than him. That's what makes this fight so different in Costa's eyes. Esta didn't stop at power. He dug deeper, finding the underlying reason for Crawford's rise to 168. It's not just about the number on the scale. It's about how that weight is produced and carried. He explained the difference between natural size and forced weight increase in basic, straightforward words. For Esta, that disparity could be the breaking point, and he made it clear why.
Now we're talking about Crawford. Crawford has come from 140, 147, 154. He's going to skip 60 and go straight to 68. So let's just say Crawford walks around 180. Okay, walks around 180. He's going to come down those 12 pounds, make it 68. He ate his way up to 180. Understand that. He didn't work out his way up to 180. That's the difference. So if you're just going to eat your way up to a heavier weight, assuming because you sparred heavier guys that you can perform at a top level against a guy who's been there numerous times, very comfortable with his weight, and coming down from a heavier weight, that's a whole different animal.
He pointed out that Crawford is not adding weight. Rather, he is eating it. That kind of weight increase, he says, does not come with true strength or endurance. Meanwhile, Canelo has been thriving at his current weight, having dropped from even higher. Esta warns that knowledge and size do not come by sparring heavier people. They come from surviving real fights at that level, and the difference versus someone like Canelo could be devastating. Despite his reservations, Esta gave Crawford the credit he earned. He agreed that Crawford is more than simply a boxer. He is an all-around athlete who devotes a large amount of time to training, including wrestling and weightlifting. Crawford puts in the work, and Esta values that. He also stressed Crawford's team strength, showing the intellect behind the brawn, but appreciation does not trump reality.
With Crawford being at 154, however much he weighs, now one thing I do give Crawford, he's incredibly athletic. He's not just into boxing, he does wrestling, he does weight training. You know what I mean? And you know, he has a good strength coach. He has a good strength team. You know, he has Bomac. So I understand how they can all work together to create this this super fighter. But it's super hard to come from 154 all the way to 68 within a specific time frame and perform as if you were at 147, 140, 140.
Esta made it clear that even super fighters have physical limitations. Moving from 154 to 168 in such a short amount of time is not easy. It's perilous, he said, because competing at the same level after a major weight change is nearly impossible, no matter how superb the training or team. The body does not always follow the plan, and against someone like Canelo, there is no room for a mistake. Esta followed up his claims with genuine proof, reminding everyone of what happened the last time Crawford gained weight. He didn't say Crawford looked horrible, but he did note something changed. The extra weight appeared to dull Crawford's usual sharpness. Both he and his opponent landed good shots, but neither looked frightened, which left Esta with more questions than answers. We've previously seen what happened when he went from 147 to 154, correct? It wasn't an awful showing, but it took away from the fact that Crawford was hit with some good shots. He took it well. Crawford also gave him some decent shots. He took it well. Esta used the fight to show what could happen again, just on a bigger, more perilous stage. If Crawford's power did not carry properly to 154, how will it perform at 168? And if his opponents are able to counter his best punches, the entire fight changes. It is not about heart. Crawford has proven he has it. The question is whether his tools will still work against bigger, stronger men, which Costa believes is a major uncertainty. Abel Sanchez, one of the sport's most regarded trainers, expressed the same worrying, albeit from a different viewpoint. He concentrated on the two fighters' physical differences, calling it a mismatch from the start. Sanchez didn't question Crawford's skill, he wondered if it would even matter. In his opinion, Canelo's size, experience, and endurance make this fight difficult to justify. And despite all the hoopla, he has made it clear that he is not buying it.
Yeah, it's two different people. Yes, Crawford will gain the weight. Yes, he will be probably around 160, 162, 63 in fight time. But Canelo's a bigger man. Canelo is taking shots from big guys, and nobody has done anything to him. So I don't think this fight. I don't think, I've said it all along, I don't think this fight should happen. But the money was there for both of them, so it's being made. But it's not a fight that I would pay to see.
Sanchez pointed out that Crawford may add weight, but that does not make him the bigger man. Canelo has fought giants, eaten their best shots, and kept moving forward. That amount of resilience, Sanchez argued, cannot be replicated with merely more weight. He conceded that the fight is taking place for money rather than merit, and in an unusually direct comment, he even stated that it isn't about who he would pay to watch. When a veteran like Sanchez talks so clearly, it cuts through the din. Sanchez did more than just doubt the bout. He made a bold prediction. He thinks this is more than just a size difference, it's a hazardous one for Crawford. In Sanchez's opinion, Canelo's power isn't something Crawford can escape indefinitely. It's no longer about skills or quickness, it's about what happens when a bigger, stronger man finally lands clean. And Sanchez believes that time will arrive.
I think so. Yes. And it's not because Terence is not talented. Terence is a talented fighter. It's just that you're talking about a big man who's used to fighting those big guys. eventually he will catch Crawford. Eventually he will and punish Crawford and hurt him.
He made it clear that this is not a judgment on Crawford's talent. He described him as a gifted fighter. Nonetheless, talent alone will not protect you from the kind of punishment Canelo can give out. Sanchez spoke with the calm confidence of someone who has seen too many good fighters be overpowered by size and muscle. For him, this isn't simply a difficult fight for Crawford. It might go terribly. That is not height, it is a warning from someone who has been in the battles. Darius Cote joined a growing list of experts who are skeptical of the Crawford-Canelo fight. While he agreed there is technical appeal in pure boxing, he did not shy away from the underlying problem of danger, as others have. Cote questioned if Crawford held the necessary firepower to earn Canelo's respect, and for Cote, that missing danger alters everything.
I think at this point, he should definitely, that's a note for me. I don't think that Crawford has enough pop at 54 to deal with a Canelo. And we talking about a Canelo that can easily go till 76 to light heavy and deal with the power there. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Crawford got anything that would scare a Canelo. Now, would it still be an interesting fight? Yeah, from a boxing purist standpoint, I think Crawford has enough to be able to stay away from Canelo long enough to make it interesting points-wise. But I don't think he can hurt Canelo at all. I just don't think he can. But I know Canelo can hurt him. So that fight for me is less exciting after watching.
He doesn't think Crawford has what it takes to hurt Canelo, no matter how skilled or slick he is. Cote predicted that Crawford's lack of power would keep him in survival mode, aiming to win rounds without having a major impression. Meanwhile, all Canelo needs is one chance to affect the fight. Cote's tone was not contemptuous, but practical. In his eyes, without the chance of destruction, the exhilaration fades quickly. And once again, the magnitude gap hogging the attention, Cote didn't just label the fight less entertaining. He went one step further and made his choice. For him, everything boils down to a simple boxing rule: size matters. Cote thinks Canelo would not only withstand Crawford's attack, but would walk him down. He sees periods in the fight where Canelo applies pressure and forces Crawford into uncomfortable terrain, and Cote thinks the outcome is apparent. He noted, "I believe Canelo would have been able to press the envelope in spots." He went on to say that he thinks Canelo will defeat Crawford because a good large man usually defeats a good little man, which is how he believes the fight will play out. Cote's perspective is straightforward but powerful. He's not disputing Crawford's ability. He's simply supporting the bigger man in a physical fight. He feels Canelo will be able to control key moments, apply pressure, and dominate as the rounds pass. That size advantage combined with weightlifting knowledge is what tipped the scales for Cote, and, like many others, he bases it on history rather than theory. Even the great broadcaster Jim Lampley chimed in, offering a more measured but still cautious viewpoint. He didn't condemn the bout directly, but he did raise a core problem that has been repeated time and again: the weight difference. For Lampley, it's more than just numbers. It's the reality of what those pounds mean in the ring, especially in the middleweight divisions, where strength, speed, and timing are all finely matched. Large jumps can be dangerous.
Well, my first thought is whether it's 14 pounds and 21 pounds, it's a big gap. And it's not the kind of gap that fighters are normally able to easily deal with, particularly in the middle range of weight classes. You know, Terence Crawford has not fought at 168 pounds. Terence Crawford, to my knowledge, has fought once at 154 pounds. I saw him at 135, 140, 147. I watched his genesis through those weight classes. I think he's a fantastic.
Lampley pointed out that Crawford hasn't truly tried himself at 150 for 4, let alone 168. He's watched Crawford dominate through the lower divisions from 135 up to 147 and praised his skill along the way. But making such a big leap with so little experience at the higher weights is a different task altogether. Lampley called it a fantastic fight, just one wrapped in real danger, and when someone with his history in the sport talks, people listen. Lampley didn't hide.
I regard myself as the world's biggest Terence Crawford fan. During the period of time when I was calling his fights on HBO, he rose all the way up to #1 pound for pound. So I have nothing but the highest opinion of Terence Crawford. But Canelo Alvarez is a different fighter from a different weight class. And, 168 pounds is a long way up from 147. So I've run across a couple of expert opinions who say, oh, yes, Terence will be fine at this weight. He's going to win. And I've run across a couple of other expert opinions that say, what is he?
He warned everyone that Canelo is not just another opponent. He is a different weight class entirely, built for 168 pounds, but some experts feel Crawford will adjust well to the new weight. Lampley has also heard the contrary, from some who think it is a risky move. The differing views simply add to the stress. Even for a fan like Lampley, this isn't an easy fight to support. That says much about the stakes. Lampley then handled what has become the major issue in this argument: Crawford's power, or lack thereof. At 168, he questioned Crawford's ability to deal significant damage to Canelo, a fighter known for his resilience and longevity. That, according to Lampley, is the heart of the contest. Skill can only go so far if there is no danger behind the punches, and history does not favor Crawford in terms of damaging Canelo.
He's going in against a guy whom he can't hurt. That's the biggest question, is how does Terence hurt Canelo Alvarez, who to my way of thinking has the strongest punch resistance in the sport. Great chin, great legs. I think the legs are more of it than the chin per se. But the bottom line is nobody's had him down on the canvas. The only official knockdown ever in Canelo's career was a situation where he got knocked back into the ropes by Miguel Cotto's little brother, and the referee ruled that the ropes had held him.
He stressed that Canelo has one of the finest chins in boxing. For years, the best fighters have landed clean, powerful shots on him, and no one has put him down. The sole official knockdown was minor, coming from a shot that forced him against the ropes. Lampley underlines that Canelo's power comes not only from his chin, but also from his balance and legs in the face of such hindrance. Lampley doubts Crawford has the firepower to make a difference, and without that danger, the fight becomes a tough uphill battle. Lampley didn't just make generic judgments. He backed up his worries with cold, concrete instances. He mentioned Canelo's elite-level opponents, many of whom are naturally larger and have impressive striking power. Throughout it all, Canelo has stayed unmoved and unbroken. Lampley used these data to highlight the stark contrast between Crawford's challenge and the reality of Canelo's past conflicts.
I still think that I would say Canelo Alvarez has not been knocked down. He hasn't been genuinely hurt. He fought big guys like Sergey Kovalev, like Dmitry Bivol. He didn't win the Bivol fight, but I didn't think he was badly hurt in the fight. So at the end of the day, he's fought much bigger guys than Terence Crawford, and held up to that kind of punishment.
He informed everyone that Canelo had sparred with fighters much larger than Crawford, including Sergey Kovalev and Dmitry Bivol. Even though Canelo lost to Bivol, he was neither hurt, scared, or dropped. Lampley stated that toughness comes not only from technique, but also from being built for the weight. Crawford may be one of the best, but Canelo is a proven tank against heavier weapons, which is what makes this fight so dangerous. After establishing the physical difference, Lampley shifted attention to strategy and questioned whether Crawford even has a realistic one for this fight. He recognized Crawford's boxing brilliance, but made it clear that against Canelo, there's almost no room for error. If Crawford wants to win, he has to put on a near-perfect performance, which Lampley isn't sure would be enough to live, let alone dominate.
I'm not sure what Terence's plan is to win the fight, other than a boxing paint job. If Terence is going to tell me my way to win the fight is I'm going to outbox him every second of every round and he's not going to find me, that's probably the right plan in my particular view. But, maybe Terence has something else.
He suggested Crawford pulling out a boxing paint job, outclassing Canelo round by round without being caught. In Lampley's sights, that may be Crawford's only choice for getting through the night, but even that strategy feels impossible to execute. Lampley did not dispute Crawford's ability. He only questioned whether that potential could overcome Canelo's physical height, strength, and experience, and that uncertainty says it all. Meanwhile, Rising welterweight Paul Crawford added his voice to the conversation, voicing a younger fighter's perspective while echoing the same worries. He didn't downplay the fight's excitement or value to the sport, but he kept things genuine. For Crawford, the danger is plain, as is the choice. While he left some space for surprise, his basic line was clear. Unless there is a major skill differential, size will win the day.
Dangerous fights, like, it's good for boxing. We don't know, you know what I mean? I think Canelo the favorite, you know what I mean? It's gonna come down to if his skill set is, who has a bigger gap in his skill set, because really, a good big man always gonna be a good little man if the skill is close or Canelo's skill.
Crawford relied on the old boxing adage that has been repeated throughout the debate. A good large guy beats a good little man, especially when the skills are comparable. He respects Crawford, but he'll go with Canelo until proven differently. He did not sugarcoat it or succumb to the hype, as many others did. Crawford sees the risk, respects the challenge, and understands exactly what is at stake in a fight like this. That honesty speaks louder than any hype. Crawford's analysis was not one-sided. He left room for something spectacular, drawing comparisons to Floyd Mayweather's masterclass versus young Canelo. He admitted that great upsets can happen when there is enough skill, gap, and with Crawford's explosiveness and mindset, Crawford sees potential. He knows Crawford isn't come to survive. He's coming to win, which makes things fascinating even for someone as confident as him. Please share your ideas in the comments box below, and don't forget to subscribe to our station to see more videos like this.